I'm very proud to be a person who is part of a programme which makes a contribution to the education of the nation's young. Well, education of the nation, I hope, because, of course, you're never too old to learn. As a former English teacher, I can tell you that there was one subject, and one subject alone, which I made sure I never taught. I never, ever taught punctuation. Why? Because you can't. Because there are virtually no hard and fast rules about punctuation, except that a new sentence starts with a capital letter and ends with a full stop. That's about it. When it comes to everything else, it is an art form. It is a matter of personal opinion. And yet there are rights and wrongs, apparently. And it's possible to have a clear opinion about a piece of punctuation, so clear that you can tell the owner of a shop who's got it wrong above the door, or a child who's doing their homework on the kitchen table on a Sunday night, that they've got it wrong. If it's possible to tell somebody, an impressionable person, a vulnerable person, that they've got something wrong, it's a good idea for all of us to establish in our own minds what we think roughly right and roughly wrong is. I don't believe anybody listening to talk radio this afternoon believes that there are a set of rigid rules for punctuation in the English language. Free call 0500 10 53 89. The subject crops up today because we had a heated discussion yesterday here at Talk Radio behind the scenes over whether a shop in Liverpool should be called Lewis's or Lewis's is. My understanding is, if you know where the shop is, that it's called Lewis's is. Lewis apostrophe S, which does look vaguely right, but at the same time vaguely wrong. Is that right? Free call 0500 10 53 89, or is it Lewis with an apostrophe after it, which you do also sometimes see? Which is right? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Or doesn't it matter? It matters, of course, because youngsters are sitting exams and people are writing letters applying for jobs. And we all believe, don't we, that if we make a spelling mistake or an error in our grammar or a punctuation mistake in a letter applying for a job, it will almost certainly blow our chances out of the water. And yet, as I say, as an English teacher, I never had the guts to sit down in front of the class and say, this is the hard and fast rule with apostrophes. I can honestly tell you I haven't got a clue myself. Are you certain? Do you know? What were you told? What were you told at school? Is it Lewis's is? Or is it Lewis? Lewis apostrophe S for the possessive, or Lewis apostrophe? Free call 0500 10 53 89. And it's not just apostrophes that surely are designed to inculcate the earliest seeds of paranoia and fear in children. What about quotation marks? 9 out of 10. Eric calls from Glasgow. Gloucester, rather. Eric, you're on Talk Radio. Is it Lewis's or Lewis's is? Eric! Has run away from the phone. He's turning his radio off. Oh, fair enough. Eric, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon. Eric, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, Eric. Is it Lewis's or Lewis's?
It's Lewis's S apostrophe S.
It is?
Yeah.
You're certain of that?
Well, I'm quoting from a book called Improve Your English.
That's a good start.
By a lady called Rosalind Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
And what she says is, don't get mixed up with the plural. If you have ladies' gloves, that's S apostrophe.
Hang on. Ladies' gloves. Ladies.
Apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
Because it's the plural.
And you would never say ladies' is, would you?
No, but that's what people confuse with words like James and Thomas.
Ah, but you're spelling ladies Ladies.
Yeah.
And not Lady.
Well, ladies' gloves, meaning one lady's gloves, would be Lady apostrophe S.
Yes.
One lady's gloves.
Yes.
Ladies' gloves, the department in the store, is plural ladies, so it's S apostrophe.
Yes.
But that's where people get confused. They confuse the singular plural trick with the, oh shit, it ends with an S trick.
Yeah. Let's bring Jamie into the conversation. Stay with us, Eric.
Okay.
Jamie's calling from Oxfordshire. You're on Talk Radio, Jamie.
Hi. It's just, well, it's grammatically incorrect. You can't actually have Lewis's is or have Lewis with an apostrophe S if you're saying where it's situated, because it's just grammatically incorrect. Lewis is, sorry, even I'm getting saved now. Lewis is situated in Liverpool. The store Lewis is situated in Liverpool. That's all you can have. You can't have anything else.
Now, I'm confused now. Do you know this store?
I have no idea where it is, no.
No, I don't think
you don't need to know where the store is.
No, it's not a locale. It's a shop, which is, Lewis's.
Lewis's, which is fine, okay, but Lewis is situated in Liverpool. That's it, isn't it? There's no need to put any punctuation in it. Surely.
No, I'm totally confused now. What's your second name?
Harrison.
Right. But think of a second name that ends in S.
N?
What?
Sorry, you're breaking up.
A second name that ends in S.
A second name which ends in S. Morris.
Morris, okay. So if you were going to say, if you were using the surname, and you want to say, is that Morris's cricket bat?
Mm-hmm.
How would you punctuate that?
Morris's cricket bat.
Yes.
Well,
M-O-R-R-I-S.
If Morris owns the cricket bat,
yes,
you would say the bat belongs to Morris. You wouldn't say Morris owns the cricket bat, or you could say Morris owns the cricket bat.
But if you
wouldn't say it's Morris's bat.
Yes, you would.
That's bad grammar, isn't it?
It's not bad grammar. It's how people talk.
It's not how you would pronounce it.
Ah, but people say that. So supposing you're writing it
because they don't think about how it would actually sound. It just comes out with it because it's natural.
But if you're writing it as reported speech, because people do say that.
I'm sorry, I can't. Could you say that again?
If you're writing it as reported speech, because people do say that.
I know that's what people say, but you can't. If you were going to write it down, you would write it down correctly, wouldn't you? You would change it so that it would read properly.
No, you see, you're failing to face up to it. Look, if you're writing a piece of reported speech in a novel or in a play, and somebody says that because that's how people talk, how do you punctuate it?
If you're going to punctuate it all, you have to punctuate it correctly. I believe that. That's correct.
Yes, so how do you punctuate?
If you're just listing what somebody is saying,
yes,
then you write it as they speak it.
Right, so that is Morris's.
To punctuate that, then if you're going to say, all right, so Morris's, but I mean, the example you're giving is not something which you would use for a play. If Morris was having a conversation about his cricket bat, say, then you would say, I don't know, an example of how Morris would talk about his bat. This is Morris's bat. Okay, and now talk about it, Morris. He would say, "Well, this is my bat." I mean, what on earth would he say? This is Morris's bat, whatever. I mean, it doesn't, it's not a good example. Give me an example which, in say, play script, which would actually make it sense, and you could punctuate it. But I can see what you're saying. Why, if you have something which ends in S, do you punctuate it with do you use an apostrophe S to say it belongs to, or do you actually try and reword it so that it makes more grammatical sense? That's what you should be saying.
Hey, thanks.
Say again?
Thanks.
I can't hear
it. Did he almost get there, Eric?
He sort of got there.
He did. That was a ball of string, wasn't it, his thinking?
It's a sort of a ball of string. The thing that confuses people is that if you were trying to just capture talk for, say, a play, you might write ES in to make sure that the actor said it the way you wanted to say it to get the rhythm right.
Yes.
But if you were just doing grammar, what I have in front of me by this Rosalind Burley is on the money. James is James apostrophe S.
Right, James's
nose is very long. Thomas's car is red. Thomas apostrophe S. But she says what you shouldn't do is that thing they do at greengrocers. You've seen that, haven't you?
Yes.
Because Keith Waterhouse is all on about that, isn't he?
Is he? I didn't know. I don't read the Mail anymore.
Well, before he joined the Mail, when he was a decent writer on the Old Mirror...
Those were the days.
He had a campaign against oranges, apostrophe S.
Did he?
Oranges 3 and 6, or, Cox's apples.
And what I don't like about greengrocers signs is that they've only got about 6 adjectives for their fruit and veg. Things are either juicy, fresh... Yes. You know what I'm saying? Eric, nice to talk to you. Thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We'll solve nothing, but we'll kick it around a little bit, and it deserves a good kicking, to be quite honest. And that's the wonderful, wacky world of punctuation. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. We're fighting back. We're getting our own back on the dreadful business of punctuation, which haunted you when you were a child and you still don't understand it. I bet you still write important letters and screw them up and start all over again and rewrite them so that you don't have to use punctuation marks, because you're not sure exactly what the rules are. It's a nightmare. It's a minefield. Jodie calls from Hertfordshire. You're on Talk Radio. Jodie, good afternoon.
Hi.
Jodie.
We were taught a couple of years ago in English that you can put the apostrophe in either position and it's still equally correct.
That's good to hear. Equally correct is always good. But can we be certain that everybody who's marking exams has heard that?
I don't know, but it's according to my English teacher, he said they were both grammatically correct. But I don't know.
Okay. What age are you?
14.
14. What are you taught about quotation marks?
That I can't remember now.
Are you required to do 66 at the beginning of a quotation and 99 at the end of it, or doesn't that matter?
Doesn't really matter.
Okay. And how would you finish off quotation marks around a piece of reported speech that reported a piece of speech? Supposing you were going to write, Gregory said, open quotation marks, the girl came up and told me to get lost, open inverted commas, close inverted commas, close inverted commas?
We were taught that you just do the different ones, so you can do double for the speech and then single for the quotation inside.
Now, I heard this afternoon for the first time. Is this what's official now?
Or you can do it the other way around, so you can do single for the speech and then double for the quotation inside. As long as you do different ones, it doesn't matter.
Your English teachers are a right bunch of flakes, aren't you? They don't tell you anything's wrong nowadays. No, I think we'll get some objections to that. Are you bothered about it at all, apart from the point of view of passing exams?
Not particularly.
No?
No.
What about the semicolon? Do you ever use it?
Occasionally.
And how do you use it?
To divide up sort of two separate clauses, like the contrasting ones.
Interesting. Can you give me an example? Because I've always used it to break up a list of one. Do you know what I mean? I would write, there's only one good reason why you should listen to talk radio, semicolon, because it's the best. Say.
Yeah.
I got a little positioning statement in there, but anyway. Is that acceptable?
I think so.
Is that how you use it?
Yeah, as far as I've used it so far.
Right. And oblique. Are you allowed to use... do you know what an oblique is?
No. Heard of it, but I can't remember.
It's a diagonal line from top right to bottom left.
Don't really use them.
You can't use them in prose. Can you use hyphens in prose? Dashes? Because a lot of novels nowadays use dash.
The only sort of way we've been taught to use a hyphen, unless it's sort of in a normal word,
yes,
is when you come to the end of the line and you're sort of still in the same word. When you just sort of divide off the syllable.
Right. But you can't use a dash to make a piece of prose flow.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No. Is
punctuation a separate lesson? Or is it something that you just get in the corner of your own margin when you get it wrong?
Well, when I was sort of first and second year, we used to have now and again a lesson on punctuation. Mm-hmm. And we used to have these books that we used to write notes on, sort of hyphens and colons and everything. But nowadays, if we've done an essay for coursework or something, and the punctuation's been quite bad, then she'll go over each separate one.
Can you punctuate this for me? The word ain't.
A-I-N''T.
Now, that's correct, but it defies its own law, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got other letters that are missing.
Yeah.
Or have been changed.
I'm not sure how that one works, but...
Yeah. Now, if you're allowed to use convention in punctuation, why are we not allowed to use convention in spelling?
I have no idea.
It's annoying, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
I've enjoyed talking to you.
And you.
Are you off school or home early?
No, off school. I've got 3 weeks holiday.
Oh, of course, yes. Most people have, haven't they? There's one or two that haven't. Posh schools haven't yet. Ha ha. Have a good break.
Thank you very much.
Glad you called.
Bye.
Bye now. It's free call 0500 1053 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. Getting our own back on punctuation. There's... Sorry, T-H-E-R-E apostrophe? Yes, of course. There's a good argument for listening.
This is Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation.
Free call
0500 1053 89.
And there's underlining as well. You'd fail your GCSE or your A-level if you underlined a word in an essay to try and give it emphasis. And there are loads of adults who think that quotation marks give emphasis to the words which are in quotation marks. Free call 0500 1053 89. And who hasn't tripped up over your, as in you are, you're listening to Talk Radio, I-O-U''R-E, no problem, but so many people put your. And an awful lot of people think that there is a word of, O-F, where it should be have, H-A-V-E, and then you find yourself thinking, yes, it does matter. Why does it matter? Because it shows you've been educated. And if you've been educated, if you got it, flaunt it. Yeah, if you got it, flaunt it. Hey, You don't know any of this stuff? Get back down there. Yeah. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Buddy calls from London. You're on Talk Radio, Buddy.
Hello, Tommy. Hello, are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Good. Well, I want to say that you mentioned something about a list of things and you said semicolon.
Yes.
Right, it's not semicolon, it's a colon. It's 2 dots, so not a dot and a comma underneath the dot.
If you got a list of one thing.
Oh, well, even then, you don't even have to put a colon. You just put a comma.
No, semicolon if you've got a list of one thing.
You mean, he is going to bring, you put a semicolon and then you put toy?
He is going to bring, no.
He's going to bring a toy, or he's going to bring the following.
No, I would say if he's going, if I was writing, he is going to bring one thing,
right?
A toy.
Okay.
I would put, he is going to bring one thing, semicolon, a toy.
So semicolon is sort of a halfway period, a halfway full stop.
Halfway between a comma and a colon.
It's between a comma and a full stop. That is the semicolon. A full stop is the end of the thought.
No. I don't agree, buddy.
You don't? Well, anyway.
Well, anyway.
But listen, what I was bringing about this lady's gloves. Nobody has mentioned that in writing, you can differentiate between the more than one lady or just more ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you will be spelling D-I-E-S for more than one lady.
Yes.
And L-A-D-Y
Yes.
for one lady. But in speaking, you wouldn't know unless you pay attention to the context. Then you would know if you were referring to one lady or several ladies.
Very true.
Right. Now, that's a fault in the language, but it cannot be helped. Now, this ain't. Ain't is American slang. And I believe it first started when they wanted to say are not, but they are is air. And so they say ain't, and eventually become ain't. Mm-hmm. And then eventually become for is not. Mm. So the AI should really represent A-R-E, to now represent I is. Mm. And the N apostrophe T, the O is missing. That the apostrophe represents the zero, the not that is missing. Yes. The O, sorry, not, the O. We're talking about letters and not figures.
Yes.
Well, I must tell you that grammar hasn't changed at all. The last time I studied grammar, my academic interest was 60 odd years ago.
Really?
Right, and it has not changed. It's the rule of speech.
Mm-hmm.
And it amazes me that even headmasters don't even know what parts of speech are, how many parts of speech there are. And I can remember there were 8. Mm. And you talk about possessive case and nominative case and objective case, they don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Okay. Can I just, coming back to punctuation then, since you've mentioned headmasters.
Yes.
Supposing you've got a conference of headmasters.
Right.
Right? And they're all in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they are in the headmaster's office.
Right.
Does that warrant an apostrophe anywhere? And if so, where? And is it the headmaster's office?
Oh, no. Headmaster's office.
Right.
Now.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, it's headmaster's, not headmaster's.
Mm.
Well, it was nice talking.
Hey, buddy, I'm grateful you called. You call again sometime.
Oh, good. Sure, Tommy.
Yeah, good.
Bye-bye.
Look forward to it. Jasper calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. Jasper, good afternoon.
Oh, hello, Tommy.
Hi. Yes?
Hello. I just wanted to make a point. I actually do get a bit fed up with people complaining about punctuation and spelling and so on when people are trying to communicate, because I think communication itself is the far more important thing. Mm. It's far more important that we enjoy what we're saying to each other, that we understand what we're saying to each other, you know? And people go on endlessly about punctuation, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, but there are some punctuation marks which are essential.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You see, there's a brilliant program. I wish I could remember what it's called, because it's one of these late-night sort of insomniac television programs, you know, on BBC Two. I wish I could find out what it is. It's about understand what they're trying to say, and that's more important.
Now, we're getting very Wittgenstein here.
Wittgenstein, yes.
We're getting very Wittgenstein.
Look,
we're getting very Tractatus. If you don't mind me saying so, have you ever read it?
No, go on, get me on that.
No, I wouldn't try, man.
Get me on that. Go on, what do you want to say about that?
A killer.
It's a killer.
He wrote 2 books.
Yeah.
And there's pamphlets.
Yeah.
And they pretty much amount to the most influential philosophical works of the 20th century.
Okay.
In one of them he said, I'll paraphrase it, he didn't exactly say it like this, he said, it's all about sentences. And then 30 years later, after he studied things a lot more, he came back and he wrote another pamphlet.
He changed his mind.
See,
that's exactly the point I'm making, Tommy.
No,
it's not.
He said it's all about words.
Yeah, about words. You can change your mind. Take the word. Right. What do you understand by the letters CD, most commonly?
CD.
CD. What's the most common image that comes into your head?
Well, you see, in my case, it's Corps Diplomatique.
Yeah, okay. Well, in most people's case, it would be compact disc.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, they've learnt that expression, not from anything, not from their college or school education. It's something that they were familiar with in everyday use. Yeah. It's actually an American expression, isn't it? And by the sound of these two words, it seems like it's two nouns, doesn't it? But in fact, one is an adjective, one's a noun. It should be, I suppose, compact disc. We should be going around saying, I'm going to play my compact disc, right? But we don't, because it would be...
That language, Timothy.
Sorry,
I don't know why. I've had to dump you. I don't know why on earth he went and said that. That was really silly. He was getting all carried away. I'll have to let him go. He's a very nice man, but he went and used one of the words you're not supposed to use on the radio, just casually. Yeah, I know you wouldn't have minded. And they used it on they used it on Richard and Judy this morning. If you can get away with it on Richard and Judy, why can't you get away with it on Talk Radio? Because I had the opportunity not to let him, inverted commas, get away with it. Can you use an inverted commas under those circumstances? Because that's the other use for inverted commas, isn't it? Let him get away with it in inverted commas. I'm confused now. And can I have a paracetamol? No, not until 4 o'clock. Fair enough. Free call 05. It was the word that he used. It was the word that they freely use in Father Ted, but spell it with an E and not a U. How can that be? I don't know. I've got a good one. You know, I feel like laying the ghost of that word sometime by using it and seeing what happens. I'm not going to do it now. I'll talk to the boss. No, I won't. I'll talk to the listeners. They're the ones who understand. You see, David, due to the technology of the situation, listening in Rochester, you heard what went on, didn't you?
I did, yes.
And you're not bothered, are you? It hasn't contaminated you.
It's the sort of word that we would use around the kitchen table, Tommy, or down the pub with your mate.
But then you see, people will say, oh, that's the Easter holidays have begun, and there are children listening, as if children haven't heard it.
Exactly.
You know.
Well, they use it. And like you were talking about yesterday with gangs, it's one of the things you learn to do in your gang, isn't it?
If I used it non-gratuitously on the radio because it was correct and appropriate and the right word and in context and I got fired, would you write to my boss and plead for my being reinstated?
Immediately.
Would you really?
Yeah, I would.
Right. So, right, now we're on a road here. Now, I don't know where it's going to end. Probably in a P45. But anyway, what was your point?
Well, it's interesting. It leads on from what that guy was saying when you were saying about the spellings. And I have terrible trouble with spelling and punctuation, but I just make it up as I go along. And I get terrible flack for it. Everybody criticises me. Mostly people who I think are pretty stupid, but the one thing they have been able to do is learn how to spell.
Yes.
They're pretty stupid about everything else, and they try to make out I'm an idiot. And yet people come to me because they go, oh, Dave will write a good letter for you.
Yeah.
So I can write okay. But something about this that I heard on the radio some time ago, and I thought was quite a good point, is that before there was standardised spelling and punctuation, when people did make it up themselves, if you read something that somebody had written and you read it out loud, you not only could hear what it was they'd written, but you could actually hear the way they would have said it.
Yes.
Because it was a much better record of what they were saying, because they would write with their accent.
Yes.
And you've lost that now. Standardised punctuation and spelling has actually lost us something.
That is the most powerful argument for phonetic spelling I have ever heard. That is brilliant. And of course, that is what was used in Train Spotting. Did you read that novel?
I haven't read the novel, I must admit. I've seen the film,
what was the other Booker winner that was Billy Ha Ha?
Yes, I've read that. Yeah, the Irish guy. Yeah,
did you read The Colour Purple as well?
No, I haven't read that either.
That was written first-person narrative. That was written as she thought.
Exactly.
And naturally everything was spelled phonetically.
Have to do that. Wow. I think The Gingerbread Man. Have you read that? I mean, that's written in sort of Irish,
right?
With the accent. And I get so wound up about it because I don't consider myself to be particularly stupid. I'm a qualified professional person. Well, I struggle to do it, but because I have always struggled with my spelling, people always equate spelling with intelligence, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with it at all.
There's no greater ball and chain, is there, than being professional?
No.
Such are the expectations once you are considered to be a professional.
Well, I was once told never to actually confess that you're qualified professional because you're automatically, in law, assumed to be an expert. And if you're an expert, you know everything.
It's much better to be appear to be a jobbing amateur. What do you do?
I'm an architect. We have spoken before, Tommy, actually. I was trying to get somebody to build young people's homes, if you remember.
I do remember that call. That was a long while ago.
Well, I still listen. Occasionally ring in when...
I still remember
mostly you don't wind me up too much these days. You're not trying hard enough.
Well, I don't know about that. We've moved the agenda on. I think you've got to keep moving. You can't go on and on doing what you do. You've got to keep ahead of everybody. And one of the things that we found...
enjoy this programme, though, Tom.
Well, you're good, lad. One of the things we found amusing is that people seem to like heated conversation about things which scarcely matter. It's less painful. I would never again do a phone-in programme in which people became frantic about topics which really do matter, like abortion, for example. There's a for example. If you were listening to a show last week in which people almost came to blows over the essential issue, not of cut flowers, then you know really that you don't have to stray onto the front pages of the broadsheets in order to find the kind of things that are important and near and dear to people, and make for interesting, if argumentative, debate. The number's 3 call 0500 10 53 89. I suppose we've got one of those on our hands this afternoon because we're talking about punctuation. And, you know, this is what it boils down to as far as I'm concerned. We all write job letters. We all write important letters. In letters which we think will count in our lives from time to time. And then we end up worrying naturally about the spelling, which you can easily check. We get that right. It's punctuation, which is such a grey area. I mean, can you put ... Is ... an acceptable piece of punctuation? And can you ever use exclamation marks without appearing thoroughly rabid? I don't think so. I mean, don't you think that television producers have lost it whenever they put an exclamation mark after the title of the programme? Ready, steady, cock! Ready, steady, cock! And what is it about Ainsley Harriott that annoys me so much? I just don't know. We're talking about punctuation. Conrad calls from Ipswich. You're on Talk Radio. Conrad, good afternoon.
Tommy. I love you. I love your show.
Well, hi, Conrad.
They didn't tell me to say it, but I do.
Oh.
I agree with you about Ainsley Harriott as well. About this punctuation, etc. Yeah. It reminded me of a joke that I heard years and years ago. But a chap who wanted to start his own zoo. So he wrote a letter to the local zoo. Said, "Dear sir, I want to start my own zoo. Can you please send me 2 mongooses?" I thought, no, that's not right. Scribble it out.
Yeah.
"Dear sir, I want to start my own zoo. Can you please send me 2 mongooses?" No, that's not right. "Dear sir, I want to start my own zoo. Can you please send me 2 mongi?" I thought, no, I've got it. "Dear sir, I want to start my own zoo. Can you please send me a mongoose?" P.S. Send me another one.
Very good. And, and we do that, don't we? Because when we don't know, we fiddle around with the entire paragraph so that we can't possibly get caught out.
Why is abbreviation such a long word?
Again, well said. And where does apostrophe come from? What does it mean?
I don't know.
And what is a comma, and why are they all such obscure? I mean, full stop, got that, no problem.
Yeah,
self-explanatory.
I thought that, the sort of comma came when there is a letter missing, as in there's, there is.
I mean, and a colon is your digestive system. I mean,
that's right, yeah.
It's all very distracting when you're a child.
That's right.
I mentioned it a couple of days ago, but my 7-year-old's just been in a play in which he had to sing Pack Up Your Troubles in Your Old Kit Bag. And it wasn't until the play was well underway that we found out, because he was singing it in the bath, that he thought the words were Pack Up Your Troubles in Your Old Git Bag.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah, that, yeah.
Conrad, thank you for your call.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Good man. It's Talk Radio. The number's 3 call 0500 10 53 89. We're chewing well, I hope, chewing off, to be honest, the whole fraught business of punctuation. Never did anybody no good, no how. And so, as you can tell, we're also talking about grammar. That number again is 3 call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening.
Talk to Tommy Boyd. 3 call 05.
On Talk Radio, Dennis, good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon.
Dennis.
Dennis Jones, yes, from Dudley, West Midlands.
Dennis Jones, is it, from Dudley?
Yeah.
Good. Tommy Boyd here, from all over, really.
Tommy, yes.
Dennis.
I've got a challenge
Jones.
for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Go.
There is a sentence where you can use the word "and."
Yes. 5
times in succession.
Yes.
In the same sentence.
Yes.
And by correctly punctuating it.
Yes.
It makes sense.
Right.
Do you know it?
I don't, but I'm sure we can construct it, my listener and I. It's got to use reported speech, hasn't it?
No.
Yes, it has.
No, not necessarily.
Well, either it has or it hasn't. Not necessarily is no answer. Has it got quotation marks in it?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
No.
Has it got an apostrophe for a missing H?
No.
No? Has it got any apostrophes for missing letters at all?
No.
No? I'm not going to let you get one over on me, Dennis. Can you hang around and I'll see whether I can crack it?
Right.
3 call 0500 10 53 89. Stay there. I'll bring in Yvette, who calls from Manchester. You're on Talk Radio, Yvette.
Hello.
Yvette, say good afternoon to Dennis Jones of Dudley.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Yvette.
Hi. I've no idea.
You've no idea?
No.
No, all right. What were you ringing about, Yvette?
About, you know, you were talking about Lewis's.
Lewis's?
Yeah, and about the apostrophe, where you put the apostrophe.
Yes, just let me remind anybody who's just bowled up to the radio, there's this shop in Liverpool that's called Lewis's, and above the door it says Lewis apostrophe S, and it doesn't seem right. And you're going to tell us it's wrong.
It's wrong.
Okay.
It's supposed to, the apostrophe is supposed to go on top of the S. For any of those, you know, like James or Jesus or anything like that.
Yes.
It's supposed to go at the top, but you actually pronounce it Lewis's.
Yes.
Or Jesus's whatever, or James's whatever.
So how would you punctuate Jesus's T-shirt then, say? Or
Jesus's J-E-S-U-S,
crown of
apostrophe
thorns.
on the top of the S.
Yes. What you mean after the last S?
Yeah.
Yes.
After Jesus, you don't put two S's on, it's just one S.
No.
No, that's how you do it.
You're quite certain about that?
I'm positive. It's actually in the, do you remember the virtue books? Those Oxford virtue books?
No.
No, well, it was written in those as well.
Right.
And you see, our English language is supposed to come from, you know, all the examinations and everything are supposed to, like, come from there, aren't they? So.
Well, thank you for your call. Let's bring in Cameron, who's calling from Dundee. Cameron, you're through with Dennis Jones of Dudley. Cameron?
Good afternoon to you, Tommy. Tommy, I was just telling Dylan the switchboard. There's something I remember from my school days. If I take a basic, simple sentence and then I repeat it, adding a little bit of punctuation, I can completely reverse the meaning of it.
Go on then.
Right. Tommy Boyd says Cameron is a fool. Tommy Boyd, comma, says Cameron, comma, is a fool.
Yes, true enough. There. Now, we'd never confuse it if you said it, would we?
It's reported speech again, Tommy.
Yes. But it has to be punctuated correctly when you write it down. You've made a good point well, haven't you?
Well, I'll do my best.
Thanks for that. Dennis, don't disappear. Free call 0500 10 53 89. There's another sentence as well which needs punctuating, which goes like this. If where he had, he'd have passed. I'm not particularly bothered, but if you want to punctuate it, free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
10:53, 10:89 a.m. This is Talk Radio.
This year... Dennis, are you still with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here comes Andrew, who thinks he has an answer to your thing about and. Andrew, you're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tommy.
Andrew in Paignton, good afternoon.
Hello again.
Hello, Andrew.
Right, the answer is, well, you can pick any name, whether it's the Bull and Bush or the Pig and Whistle of any sort of pub name, and the story goes back to a sign writer who was asked to do the Pig and Whistle, whatever, and the landlord said, there's not enough space between pig and whistle.
Yes. That's it, Dennis. Thank you very much indeed, boys. Okay, free call 0500 10 53 89. You know, nowadays they do We teach children about apostrophes, and you often get something something. Kind of like, if you like, to carry on with what Andrew said, bull and bush. Of course, if you're writing that down, then technically you have to have two apostrophes before the N and the D, and after the N. Before the N and after the N. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I know it doesn't matter, but, you know, it kind of does. Kind of does. It's like so many things in life, he said, getting vaguely philosophical for a second. Like so many things in life, they don't matter, but they kind of do. I mean, not to waffle on, but it's deciding what matters and what doesn't, and how much it matters, really, which probably detains about 80% of our thinking, doesn't it? And then in the end, you have to make a decision or run away. And running away is the best, so that's why we do so much of it. Really. Tim calls from High Wycombe. Tim, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Hi, Tommy.
Tim.
I am a sign writer. So, yeah, I did know the answer to the and, but I got through too late. But I do have another problem which I would like you to try and solve for me, because it's been bugging me for years.
Great idea. Go on, then.
I had to sign write a hairdresser's fascia board, and they had the name of the shop in the middle, telephone number on the right, and what they do on the left. And what they had as a description was high-class gentlemen's hairdressers.
Right.
Now, where on earth does the apostrophe go in that?
Gentlemen's?
I've worked out it's not gentlemen's, because you can't have a plural. But if it's gentleman's...
No, it's plural possessive if it's gentlemen's.
Gentlemen's as opposed to gentleman's.
No, but the hairdresser is of the gentleman.
Right.
So you can have gentlemen's with an apostrophe between the N and the S.
Ah.
The men gives you the plural, and the S gives you the possessive.
Is that the answer?
I don't know. I'm not saying that. Hey, surely we need to know there's no answer.
I've been working that one out for a couple of years. I've been trying to work it out, and I can't work it out, so I assume that no, there is no answer.
No.
So I haven't been putting an apostrophe in at all. I've just been leaving it out.
Have they not asked you on many occasions to write things which you know are either wrong grammatically or in terms of punctuation or even spelling, and you've had to do it because that's what pays your mortgage?
I don't think so. No, not that I can remember. I did have somebody, while I was writing this particular sign, come up and say, "Wait, the apostrophe is in the wrong place."
Yeah.
And I shifted it, and then shortly after, someone else came up and said, "Boy, the apostrophe is in the wrong place." So I just gave up and wiped it out altogether. But no, I don't. I try to be as careful as possible, not to make spelling mistakes, because they tend to be a bit permanent.
Yep.
And if I have any doubts, I question it with the owner of the shop.
Right.
And if I think it's wrong, then I tend to go along with what they say, because they're the ones that have to live with it.
Yes.
And you're right, they pay the bill.
That's right. And whatever they say goes.
Sure.
Because this isn't the law of the land, is it?
I mean, sometimes they're open to discussion, and you try and sort of ease the correct answer in if you know that it's right and they're wrong. But you have to sort of tread carefully, because if they're adamant that they're right.
Well, I was told that when Harry Webb changed his name to Cliff Richard, his PR people were very careful to make sure that it was Cliff Richard and not what is a much more familiar surname, Richards. And the reason for that was because they wanted to be able to continually correct broadcasters and journalists and so on and so forth when they were doing copy on him, right?
Yeah.
Because they knew that whenever people are brought up short on a matter of spelling or punctuation, they remember it. And their first job when he started out as a singer was to get them to remember him. So presumably an awful lot of shops would quite welcome either a spelling mistake or a grammatical mistake or a mistake in punctuation, because people would notice it. And after all, that's why you write signs, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
So that the business gets noticed.
Very true, it's the first impression.
And would you not go into a pub if its sign was grammatically correct because you thought you might be buying a beer from someone who was thick?
I have actually, and I have to be very careful, because sometimes if I walk past and I see a mistake on a sign, the temptation, as you say, is to walk in and then just sort of spill the beans. And I did that on one occasion in a local shop to High Wycombe, where they actually had these letters that you fix on. And somebody in their infinite wisdom had fixed on one letter back to front and another letter upside down. But it looked correct. It was like it was a Roman A, so you've got thick and thin. That was back to front. And it was an N, a capital letter N, which was upside down, so you got the serif at the bottom instead of the top.
Tim, happy sign writing. I'm going to wind off the hour by talking to Barry in Chingford. Barry.
Hello, Tommy. Chigwell. To get it down to you quick, from the Oxford Book of English, from the Apostrophes, it says it's also used to indicate a place or business that is the butchers, like John Smith's The Butchers. The S, the apostrophe only goes after the butchers between the R and the S, and it's often omitted in such names as Smith's, W.H. Smith, Lloyd's Bank, etc. It is not used. Lewis's should not have an apostrophe.
Chapter and verse. Thank you, Barry.
All right.
Good man.
Cheers.
Stand by for Peter Dilley and Britain's fastest moving drive time. I'm Tommy Boyd. Look forward to talking with you from 2 tomorrow. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.